Good morning. My name is Mike Michaud. I'm a member of the Board of Trustees. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Brunswick. We acknowledge that we gather as a community on the unceded lands of the Wabanaki Nations, which we now call Brunswick, Maine. Today is Sunday, February 4th. Our minister, Reverend Dr. Karma Amos, is leading the service. Today's reflection is Justice and Equity, Class Matters. And our music will be performed by Will Bristol. If you are new or visiting today and would like more information about our congregation, please stop at the visitors table in the fellowship hall. The folks there will be happy to answer any of your questions. In the interest of safety, please note that there are 3 exits to this building. One is through the door you came in, directly behind you. The second is in the back of this room on the right, just past the AV booth. And a third is at the back of the building, all the way through the RE area. As we begin the service today, please silence your mobile phones. Once again, welcome. We are glad you are here. There's one more announcement that Lucy will introduce. Thank you.
I have the pleasure of introducing Dana Bateman, who is the chair of the advisory board, or the board of whatever, the board of directors of the Emergency Action Network, and she's here to share some delight with you.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm here again from the Emergency Action Network. We're a small nonprofit here in town serving kids in the public schools. Our work is around filling gaps for kids that are living sort of on the margins, issues that aren't easily filled or served by other service organizations. So I wanted to say thank you for your partnership in our work. The mittens and hats and warm weather gear that you all collected was an enormous help to us. Part of how we work is we do periodic drives. You know, we say, all right, we need this week, this month we need mittens and hats. And you all came through for us, so thank you for that. We were able to deliver, countless, hats and mittens to all the schools in Brunswick, including the bus garage. We brought some beautiful knitted hats and mittens in particular over to the bus garage, so they were handing those out. The day we got them, they went back out into the community. So thank you for that. If you were curious about learning more about us, our name, the Emergency Action Network, is printed on the second page. And so if you wanted to Google us or follow us on Facebook or learn anything more about us, we would appreciate it. And thank you again. You'll be hearing, the next thing we're getting up to is in the spring we collect sneakers and athletic footwear. Cleats, spikes for running, all kinds of things like that. So again, thank you so much. We really appreciate your partnership, and as I was saying, the secret backbone of our work and a lot of the work here in Brunswick is, of course, the faith community. So thank you again.
Good morning. We light this flame to ignite the sacred power of justice. We light this flame so that it may be a beacon of hope in moments of uncertainty, fear, anxiety, and the unknown. We light this flame and are emboldened by its blaze, knowing our strength as a prophetic and powerful people is rooted in the diverse ways we answer the call to love.
Good morning. My name is Karma Amos, and I am honored to serve as the minister of this congregation and to welcome you to worship. We are so glad that you are with us today. We hope that you will find room for your spirit in this community to authentically emerge and engage. We welcome you no matter who you are or whom you love or what your background. If you are here sincerely, we long to get to know you and your specific gifts and the things that matter most to you. For the month of February, we will be exploring here the theme of justice and equity, two of the core values of Unitarian Universalism. And we're going to do a pretty literal dive into that today as we focus on matters of class. February is also Black History Month in the United States, an important time of explicitly focusing on the rich and varied history of Black people, Black communities, and their enormous contributions to our common life. The first introduction of this focus on Black history was by historian Carter G. Woodson in 1926, not quite 100 years ago, and it was introduced as Negro History Week. It was only 50 years later, in 1976, that it became the month-long celebration that we now know. It is important to have set aside time to focus on history that is not always taught or taught well, and both things are true at the same time. It's important that we don't only do that during one month of the year. But for February, here, our new music director, Will Bristol, has intentionally chosen music that features and honors the contributions of Black composers and artists. And we are invited to listen and engage that music with deep appreciation for the contexts that gave it birth, the experiences that currently give it renewed life, and the ways in which it draws all of us into new ways of creating song and community and vision together across our differences. And I will turn it over to Will to introduce our opening hymn.
Good morning. The hymns today both represent the struggle of a minority class, and they are both songs of protest. The first hymn is considered an African-American spiritual, which dates back to before the Civil War. It was later employed as a song of protest against enlisting in the Vietnam War. Without further ado, let us rise in body or in spirit to sing hymn number 162, Gonna Lay Down My Sword and Shield.
Down by
Good morning. My name is Tobin Cooney-Callion, and I serve as your Director of Religious Exploration. Now is the time in the service when I would like to call children forward for a story. So if you're young or young at heart, come on forward. Good morning. I love how sparkly you are this morning. It matches your heart, I think. Hi, Izzy. Hi, River. Hello. Hi, Holden. Hi, Jocelyn. Hi, Evelyn. Hey, Bryce. Oh, Mira, you snuck by me. Hello. How are you? Hi, everyone. Hi, Sean. Hi. Hi, Nora. Welcome, everybody. It's nice to see you all. How are you all doing? Pretty good. I had a really busy morning, so I'm like rushing it around. Do you guys ever rush around and it takes a minute to like settle? Will you help me settle? Will you take a deep breath with me? That felt so good. I think I might do one more. You want to do one more with me? Thank you. So we're talking about really important things today, and I think it's really important to like be all the way here for this kind of conversation. I have a story for us. Now, this story is about immigration. Does anybody know what immigration is? Holden, you have a hand up. That's exactly it. So in war or times of disaster, people leaving their country to come to another country for safety. So that's what this story is about. And there's a great question that starts this story off, and it says, if you had to leave everything behind and travel by boat across waters to find safe harbor, what would you wish for? So this story is called Wishes, and it's by, I'm going to get this name wrong a little bit because it's hard to pronounce for me, but it's Muan Tai Van, with illustrations by Victo Nagy. All right, so here we go. The night wished it was quieter. The bag wished it was deeper. The light wished it was brighter. The dream wished it was longer. The clock wished it was slower. The path wished it was shorter. The boat wished it was bigger. The sea wished it was calmer. The sun wished it was cooler. The heart wished it was stronger. The home wished it was closer. And I wished. I didn't have to wish anymore. So that doesn't have a lot of words, but what did you all think of that story? It's pretty good. I picked it a lot for I loved the message, but I really like the art. It's pretty good art, right? So today we are going to head back to the RE space. We've got a cool plan to do today. So if I could have you head out when they start singing, that would be great. Would you all join in singing, "We Will Keep a Place for You"?
Good morning. I'm Julie Dahmer. I'm a member of the pastoral care team. And so this morning we have, for concerns, somebody wrote, deep concerns for the ever-expanding acts of war in the Middle East. When will they ever learn? I know we're all concerned about that. There are no joys written today, but I have a joy in that I'm one step closer to being able to swim and do neat things like handwrite. After my half of my little Muppet cast is gone, and this part is now removable for giving my skin some TLC. It'll be on for a while longer, but anyway, step by step. And then eventually I can wear my own clothes over it. But so, small joys. So if you're not attending in-person services and you would like a joy or concern read from the book, please send an email to UUCB joysandconcerns@gmail.com. And if you'd like to talk with any of us personally, you can find us. We have light blue ribbons on our name tags. You can contact us through this email address as well, and we would love to talk with you and listen and meet with you any way we can, go for a walk, visit your home, give you phone calls. So just let us know how we can help.
Would you join me in a time of prayer and contemplation? We come to this community from so many different places with so many things on our hearts. All of them we hold as sacred, and we lighten the load as we share them together. We amplify the joy as we share them together. I want to offer a prayer this morning by the Reverend Tess Bumberger called "Let Us Make This Earth a Heaven." Let us make this earth a heaven right here, right now. Who knows what existence's death will bring? Let us create a heaven here on earth where love and truth and justice reign. Let us welcome all at our pearly gates, our freedom table, amid singing and great rejoicing. Black, white, yellow, red, and all our lovely colors. Straight, lesbian, gay, bisexual, queer, questioning. Cisgender, transgender, non-binary, gender non-conforming. Healthy, sick, hurting. Variously abled, young, old, gentle, cranky, joyous, sorrowing. Let no one feel excluded. Let no one feel alone. May all have enough to meet their needs. May all share power generously. May all venerate the earth, our mother, and tend her with wisdom and compassion. May we make our earth an Eden, a paradise. May no one wish to leave her. May hate, violence, and warfare cease to clash in causes too old and tired to name. Religion, nationalism, racism, the false god of gold, deep-rooted ethnic hatreds. May these all disperse and wane. May we see each other's true selves. May we all dwell together in peace and joy and understanding. Let us make a heaven here on earth before it is too late. Let us make this earth a heaven for each other's sake. Amen. Our prayer response this month is going to be number 134 in your hymnals, if you're looking at those. It's called Our World is One World, and Will is going to play the whole thing through one time so we can learn it, and then we'll sing the verses prayerfully together.
Good morning, I'm Lucy Iams, a member of the Worship Committee. I'm reading Drowning, a poem by Claire Hersom, who is a Maine poet. I try not to throw myself out into the middle, oops, sorry, wrong page. If I sat still long enough and sang a little song in my head, the conversation didn't seem to be about me, because no one here knew about the last 25 years, and I could hide under an empty smile and nod, not let them see how close the tears were, while everyone talked about the impoverished, so casually, saying if we just did it better, did it right, we would not be in this position, we would not be hungry. Not on the streets, looking into the warm lights of those who had enough money to pay rent, buy a safe car, get ice cream for their kids on hot summer nights. I'm listening, trying not to let the feeling I got using food stamps at the local grocery store swarm over me, only choosing the lines with strangers, keeping my eyes straight ahead, talking quietly and small to the clerk, handing the paper money across the conveyor belt, quickly, like a drug dealer might try to hand something off at a playground. From the underbelly of the American dream, they talk about extremist factions of the political right, yes, even the Christian right, who say there will always be the poor, and as a country we should accept that, much the same as we accept ourselves as a nation of moral and immoral beings. It appears, being poor all those years, they have chosen the latter for me. Even with 15 years in the choir and Nana's rosary still slung over the bedroom mirror, me, with a simple twist of dumb fate that left us desperate. Me, with the prayer book beside my bed bursting with the words about Christ, this advocate for the hope of the poor, the one who knows the truth about all the nights I prayed for food. I try not to let the anger sink its teeth into the old scars, ripping again, tearing again until I am only that, teeth marks up and down my arms, over my face, my shoulders, my back, my legs. I try not to throw myself into the middle of the room, toes digging into the plush carpet, and drown the gentle background music by yelling at them, like the animal they might expect me to act like if they knew. Instead, in my head, I sing a song. Don't try to break the mythos as I've so often done only to hear them say, "Oh, we weren't talking about you."
I have had the pleasure recently of being in a couple of settings with people unfamiliar with Unitarian Universalism. I love those opportunities because it helps us learn what people think about us, and it also helps us hone our elevator speech so that we can talk about what it means to be UU. In the last couple of weeks, I have spoken with people who have been genuinely curious, even those that are deeply skeptical of organized religion. And I'm reminded over and over again that one of the things that draws people to Unitarian Universalism is our commitment to justice and equity, alongside, of course, our very wide theological spectrum. But when folks out there look in on us, they often describe us as that social justice church. I'm okay with that. It's aspirational, I know. Here in Brunswick, I hear things like, "Oh yeah, you're that place across the street from the library. You're that group that's active around gun safety and immigrant justice and working with Tedford on housing and the Wabanaki on tribal sovereignty. Of course, you're the Black Lives Matter church." Some go on to say, "You know, I'm not really a churchy kind of person, but I'm intrigued by you. I'm intrigued by you because justice is my jam, and I am tired of hearing religious people say a whole lot and do too little. And that's fair too, isn't it? But in my experience here so far in Brunswick, the larger community's impression is that we are at least striving to sincerely practice what we preach, to live into our values, and when we fall short, to say so and to learn to be and do better. People seem inclined to believe us when we say that we do really care about addressing matters of injustice, inequity, and oppression. Systemically, through community partnerships and through legislative advocacy, and relationally, personally, through the deep soul work of examining some of the attitudes and biases we have inherited. We are here hoping and praying and working to be free from injustice. And we know that our liberation can never be complete unless it is collective, unless it exists for all and not just for some. In other words, we know that justice can never be about just us. Equity, the other value that we're focusing on this month, is related to justice because without equity, justice remains elusive. Now, equity is different than equality, which is the typo I did not catch on the screen right now. It's justice and equity that we're talking about, and I want to use this illustration. All of you have probably seen some version of this graphic in the past. It is used to talk about the differences between these things, and it keeps getting better. The metaphor is a baseball game, and the folks inside the stadium are the super privileged. Let's call them the 1%. Almost no one has access to that. But there are a variety of realities outside the fence for people who still dream of seeing the game. Reality on the left is a picture in which one gets way more than they need, while others get less and still less, creating the vast disparity that we know is the way things are now. Equality includes the assumption that everyone benefits from the same supports. They do not. When everyone gets the specific support they need, that's equity. Everyone outside the game is able to view and to experience it equitably according to their unique needs and circumstances. That's progress. Now, justice is the final panel on this cartoon because that goal is only achieved when the cause of the injustice itself is addressed. In this case, the fence, the systemic barrier of the fence is removed. And we might ask ourselves all the time, who was that built for anyway? These definitions are probably useful for us as we engage in further conversation, but there's another metaphor now that I like even better than the baseball game. Stephanie Bernier from the worship committee sent this to me. It's small, so I'll tell you what it says. The only thing I don't love about this is that it does not feature a flip-flop. But this is how it frames some of the differences in what we're talking about. Equality is everyone getting a pair of shoes. Diversity is everyone getting a different type of shoe. Equity is everyone getting a pair of shoes that fits both their foot and their personality. Acceptance is understanding we all wear different shoes, and belonging, where I would put a flip-flop, is wearing the shoes you want without fear of judgment. When Unitarian Universalists use words justice and equity, we are not just referencing pie-in-the-sky concepts or academic theories. We are talking about very real and very practical aspects of life in the real world. Specifically, our value of justice commits us to dismantling racism and all forms of systemic oppression. And in terms of equity, we explicitly name our conviction that every person has the right to flourish with inherent dignity and worthiness. Both of these values support our work in the world, and they give shape to it in ways that are deeply intersectional, which I'll say a little bit more about. I think I've told you before that I took a really great class this fall. It was led by a colleague whom I respect and offered nationally by the UU Women's Federation. So it seemed like a good opportunity for continued education in a specifically UU context. That's what I was looking for. The course was for white UU women who wanted to take on our own white supremacy, for most of us a continued journey. And that meant we had to talk about gender and class, right? You would expect this. What I noticed in this group of people, though, in comparison to other groups that I've done this kind of work with, is that this group really struggled with class. And at one point in the course, we had to self-identify and join caucus spaces so that we could talk with other people who shared our class background. And for these purposes, we were following the notion that the class that you grow up in for the first 15 years of your life has an impact on your formation and development in ways that endure the entire lifetime. So we were to put ourselves in groups: poor and working poor, working class, middle class, and upper and owning class. It was immediately obvious that many people in the group had never been asked to do this exercise before and did not want to do it now. The level of resistance was pretty shocking to me. Though by the end of the course, we had some great discussions about why that had been the case. I don't think anyone doubted by the end just how important class matters are to every other justice issue we care about. And it became clear, so clear, that unless we were willing to dig deep into class matters for ourselves and in our conversations with one another, we wouldn't be able to accomplish the other thing we really wanted to do, which in this case was to work on racism. And that's why I want to dive right into this topic at the first Sunday of the month, so we'll have more time to talk throughout the month together. Class is such a determining factor in our lives. Class is about money and material resources, but so much more than that. Class affects what kind of schools we have access to, and not only because of tuition. Class affects whether or not we will succeed in those schools. It affects what kind of friends we will make when we are there. Class affects the jobs that will be open to us, oftentimes more so than our qualifications for those jobs will. Class affects the churches we are drawn to, and that's something we can talk about later. Class affects what kind of health care we receive, or not. It affects the kinds of stores we frequent and what is available to us in them. Class affects the quality of our living and working environments and what environmental risk factors we will face. It influences the books we read, the movies we watch, the type of music we listen to. In short, our class, whether we are aware of it or not, influences almost every aspect of culture. It drives a lot of our daily decisions. It shows up in our conversations, including the silences that indicate what we are not willing to talk about. Class affects us all, but it does not affect us all in the same ways. As an example, all of us might notice economic trends in our world. We might all legitimately marvel at rising prices. Who isn't? I cannot believe that it costs $3.50 for a sprig of kale and over $4 for a gallon of milk. Incidentally, just to make this crystal clear, we pay more for milk than we pay for gasoline. because we subsidize gasoline in this country. Don't even get me started on rental prices. You get the point. You get the point. We may all be able to nod along and feel nostalgic for the prices we knew, but we do not all have to make agonizing choices in the face of those rising prices about whether or not we will buy food or medicine because we cannot afford both. Not all of us have to ration our fuel or routinely stretch our soup or time our visits to the Y so that we can shower unnoticed because we don't want anyone to know we've been sleeping in our car. The realities in our lives that are shaped by class are hard to overstate. What is becoming clearer and clearer to me is that if we want to be able to address all of the justice issues that move us and give us passion, we must deal with class. We cannot dismantle systemic racism if we don't directly address class. We cannot effectively address gun violence without talking about poverty. The same is true for all the things we care about: democracy and voting rights, nonviolence and an end to war, the right of people to control choices about what happens to their own bodies, climate change, immigration, child welfare, all of them affected by class. And all of the movements working for justice and equity in these things are limited if they do not directly address class as part of their work. One of the best books I read last year was Matthew Desmond's book, Poverty by America. When I finished reading it, I wanted to buy everyone a copy. He addresses directly and honestly one of the most shameful problems this country faces: the vast, and increasingly vast disparity between the proverbial haves and have-nots. Most of us know the staggering statistic that the top 1% of our population holds as much wealth as the bottom 90% combined. But as he describes poverty beyond the numbers, Desmond notes some important things about the experience of poverty that we don't often talk about, and to which the poem that Lucy read gives voice. Poverty is about money, of course, but not only that. It is about, this is Desmond's words, about a relentless piling on of problems that need to be named before they can be addressed. Here are some of the things that Desmond names specifically, and these are dot points only. Poverty is pain, physical pain, if only in the backaches and lingering health problems of essential workers. Poverty is violence. Among a study of men and women released from prison in Massachusetts, over 40% of them had witnessed a murder as a child. Poverty is traumatic. And since society isn't investing in its treatment, poor people find their own ways of coping. And let me be clear that when we talk about poor people, we're also talking about people in this room. This is not an us-them kind of problem. Poverty is instability. Poverty is the constant fear that it will get even worse. Poverty is loss of liberty. Poverty is the feeling that your government is against you. Poverty is embarrassing and shame-inducing. Poverty is diminished life and personhood. It changes how you think and prevents you from realizing your full potential. One statistic asserts that simply being poor in the United States can reduce your cognitive capacity as much as losing an entire night's sleep. Poverty is exacerbated and made worse in the US by racism. And let me quote this summation that Desmond says. Poverty is often material scarcity piled on chronic pain. piled on incarceration, piled on depression, piled on addiction, on and on it goes. It is connected to every social problem we care about: crime, health, education, housing, and its persistence in American life means that millions of families are denied safety and security in one of the richest nations in the world. Will you take a breath with me? Maybe one more. I know this is difficult. We may feel a little bit like Puxatawny Phil felt this week on Groundhog Day. He pops out and says to the crowds, "Still cold, more winter to go." And of course, in Maine, we don't need a rodent from Pennsylvania to tell us that. But analogously, we might pop out from time to time and look at this world we love and have been trying so hard to make a difference in, and we might say to ourselves, "Phew, it's not fixed yet. There's still more for us to do." We may want to turn around and burrow down into our warm and comfortable holes and habits for 6 weeks at least. And from time to time, we need to. We need to, because balance and rest are as important to the work of justice and equity as strategies and working sessions. When we talk about justice and equity, we're not talking about finding a magic bean or a one-size-fits-all cure for the ills of the world. We are talking about finding new ways to live together, sustainable ways to live together justly for the long term. And I am so glad to be in a community that takes that seriously and considers this work sacred.
We come to that time in the service when we receive the offerings that you generously make every time you're here. All Sunday non-pledge cash is split with this month's charity with Soul, which is Four Directions Development Corporation, which is a Native American community development financial institution. Their mission is to improve the social and economic conditions of the Wabanaki tribes in Maine through education and investment in affordable housing, tribal business ventures, and Native entrepreneurship. Please be as generous as you are able. Please join with me in saying the congregational response. May these offerings sustain and grow the work of this church, weaving a tapestry of love and action. Thank you.
The final hymn today is We Shall Overcome. This is also a Black written song that dates back to the beginning of the 1900s. It first saw the light of day as a protest song sung by cigarette factory workers, mostly women, during a tobacco strike in 1945 in Virginia. And later, of course, it was taken up by the civil rights movement as their main anthem of choice. Let us rise in body or in spirit for hymn 169, We Shall Overcome.
We have come to the end of our service, but not our calling in the world. May we close our time together with the humble reminder that justice and equity are our spiritual practices to embrace. Each day, every day, we are blessed to be the embodiment of what is possible when justice and equity ground us in all that we do. May we go forth with the light and warmth of the chalice in our hearts until we are together again.
Greet your neighbors and enjoy some conversation and fellowship behind you.